Hello. This is Alex Lovehall. This is not a video I thought I was going to make. However, for the sake of me being a fighting game content creator, among other things, it wouldn't be right if I didn't make a video on the topic of 2XKO shutting down. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time and you scroll back, you'll know that I have not been a big fan of this game, and I have not been a big supporter of this game since it was first revealed, and especially as they started making some pretty bad decisions. Also, just fair warning, I have ideas of what I'm going to say, but I don't have a script, so if you don't like those unscripted videos, don't worry, don't get upset, don't click off the video. I've been working on making sure I keep focus and I stick to what I'm trying to say. That way I'm not rambling, I'm not in your ear, and we're not wasting a bunch of time. So, the first thing I want to say is, I saw this coming. I saw 2XKO failing. I saw 2XKO shutting down. Did I think it was going to be this fast? Not at first, but when I saw the writing on the wall, which is where the 2XKO devs fired most of the staff as soon as the game was released, which is not good. I do know that some studios will downsize games in their company or in their teams when a game comes out. However, that fast, that frequently, and that big of a size, that's a red flag. I also noticed when the game went from we're going to release the game now to we're going to release the game and it's going to be 10 years from now. They didn't say that, but them having a 10-year release schedule, there is no way that the game is going to live up to whatever expectations you have of the game. GTA 6 is going to fall into the same boat. You announce it, then you expect it, then you wait, and you just keep building, and you keep building, and eventually it's going to get to the point where the game's not going to live up to whatever expectations you put on it. And the fact that it is a free-to-play fighting game, which is not a market that has had a lot of success. When they did that, when they announced it was going to be free-to-play, I knew it was only a matter of time, because there's no free-to-play fighting game in this current landscape that's going to really succeed. Because once you do free-to-play fighting games, you're going to have like 1 million plus players every 2 minutes, spending $500,000 every 10 minutes. Otherwise, the game's just not going to be profitable, because a free-to-play game is a different ecosystem than a paid service game. I don't remember what the actual term is at the moment. However, just look at Marvel Tokon, right? That game is not free-to-play, and it has a lot of issues with it. We'll get to that in the future. However, even with the amount of issues it has, it is still doing some amount of success. Not as much as they expected, not as much as they needed at the beginning. However, but because it is a pay-to-play game rather than a free-to-play game, their margins of error are a little bit different than 2XKO. I will also say 2XKO's marketing, awful. The name 2XKO, what does that mean? That doesn't signify anything to anybody. That doesn't say it's a fighting game. It doesn't say it's a League of Legends game. It doesn't say it's a tag fighter. You kind of got to put a bunch of pieces and put a bunch of clues together to make that assumption. And if you're trying to sell a game to a market, especially one who's not into fighting games, or a market that doesn't really know League of Legends all that well, making it that confusing does not help your sales or help people want to play your game. And then the roster itself, I don't know League of Legends that much. I don't play League of Legends. I don't know the characters. I've never watched Arcane. None of that. I don't know a lot of the designs. I don't know a lot of the characters. However, I do know that for a tag fighter launching with 7 or 8 characters at launch for a tag fighter, that's not good. That's way too small, and it's way too limiting, especially in a game when you're launching it from League of Legends that has over 100 characters. Come on, what are we doing? And then a lot of the game's balancing decisions, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just stick to point number one. Point number one is I saw this coming, right? A lot of signs are pointing to 2XKO is not going to sustain itself. The problem number 2 that I noticed is that there was too much competition around that space for the game, as lackluster as it was, to survive, right? Because as soon as Marvel Tokon was announced or revealed, that took the wind out of 2XKO just a little bit. Actually, more than a lot of it. Because even right now, if you look at 2XKO's numbers compared to Marvel Tokon's, even with Tokon's problems and barriers, it still has more than 2XKO. And even if you look at 2XKO before Tokon, if you look at a lot of the comments are going to be saying, I didn't know this game was out. Oh, this game came out. Oh, when did it release? Oh, I want to play this game, but I didn't know it existed. There's so much of that it is shocking to me that people did not realize how important marketing actually is. If the only people who know about the game are fighting game players and you're trying to target non-fighting game players, you're not going to do very good. And the only problem is League of Legends is a super big property and it's super popular. And the game itself encompasses so much of gaming as a whole that it is shocking to me that a free-to-play fighting game with League of Legends characters in it is flopping harder than the $30 Avatar game or the $70 Marvel game. And I'm not saying that it can't have struggle, it can't have competition, and it can't have to work to, get players to play it. But just flopping that hard, and I don't care what nobody says, the game is a flop, right? It had some good ideas, it had some momentum, it had some sparks of, hey, this could be good. But again, it's been less than a year, and the game is already shutting down. It's offering refunds. Which kind of goes into my third point, they never should have made it free to play. Once they made the game free to play, it put way too much pressure on the game to succeed and to keep player base and to keep people spending money on the game. And with other factors like you don't even got to look outside and see the gas prices to know that things are getting more expensive and are getting harder to purchase. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, spending $5-10 on a cosmetic in a free-to-play game might not be the best choice right now. And unlike Marvel Rivals, you have to buy each individual character. So you already have people complaining about a season pass or having to buy characters for a game like Tokon or Street Fighter 6 or Tekken 8. So imagine, instead of just paying, let's say, $20 for a season pass, which may or may not be too expensive depending on who you ask, but instead of doing that, imagine you got to pay $5 for every character in Marvel Tokon, not just the DLC. So instead of you paying $70 for a full package game, you buy a game. Let's say it's $20. Let's say it's $30. Let's just say it's free. Let's say Marvel Tokon's free, and you got to buy each character individually. 20 characters for $5. That's $100. For just the characters alone, not the costumes, not the colors, not the stages, none of that. Now imagine you have to do that for every character that comes out. That's the problem. And then you got to make sure people actually want to play the game and stick around, because again, they didn't buy the game, they downloaded the game. So every single moment has to make money. You're making money on the experience, not the purchase, and that requires a different level of game that honestly 2XKO just did not have. I do think from the gameplay's perspective, it had some cool ideas, it had some neat ideas, but it was all over the place. They kept listening to different balancing suggestions. They kept trying to go this way, Yasuo, Echo. I'm not a big fan of the game. I didn't follow it completely. I don't really know who the players were. I didn't really know what the meta was and the strats were and things of that nature. But I did hear a lot of people complain about certain characters that just weren't getting fixed, weren't getting nerfed, and you had the esports coverage, and you had the special costumes, you had all those sorts of things that, again, are a lot of the same games, a lot of the similar issues. It's just that a bonus fourth point is a fighting game should not be free to play because the market that you're trying to go to is not big enough to sustain a free to play market. Think about it. We have Marvel Tokon and Marvel Rivals, right? Marvel Tokon, as many problems as it has right now, which is the Sony DRM, it being banned in 100 plus countries, the PC port not being where it needs to be, replays desyncing, performance issues, yada 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 yada, right? That's not this video. Even with that said, there's still people playing the game, enjoying the game, buying the game, making content about the game, this, that, and the third. If you compare Marvel Tokon numbers to Marvel Rivals numbers, it's not even the same game. It's not even the same comparison, because fighting games have just historically been for a smaller audience. Yes, Street Fighter 6 can sell 6 million copies. Tekken 7 can sell like 7-8 million, right? Tekken 8 can sell like what? I don't know, 5 million, 4 million. I don't know the numbers. Point is, these can make historic numbers, historic sales. But are people playing? Hold on, give me a second. My screen kind of went dark. I need to make sure I can see it. Sorry about that. So, as I was saying, you can have 6 million sales, but if 6 million sales equals, as I check Street Fighter 6 a day, like what, 3,000, 7,000 players total? Yeah, they bought the game, but they're not playing it currently, and that's okay because you're trying to make a different kind of profit. You're trying to have a different kind of player base. Now imagine you got 6 million downloads, but only 3,000 players are playing your game, and you need 10,000 players to keep the servers active or to keep the money coming in, because you need every one of those $10,000 players to make a purchase. That's why Marvel Rivals, all their characters are free to play, right? That's a big selling point for that sort of genre. However, that's why they make their money on their costumes. They make their money on the gacha system, which they said they would never put a gacha system in the game, and yet here we are. We have different gacha systems and balloons and things of that nature. This is not a Rivals video. I do not want to lose focus. The point is, certain behaviors and certain business practices are really important for free-to-play games because that's how they make their money. And since 2XKO is trying to capture, or was trying to capture everybody at once, instead of just focusing on making a good fighting game for fighting game players that everybody can enjoy, now the game is shut down because it had no focus, it had no marketing, it had no strong gameplay, it had no strong roster, and it had no strong presence in the FGC. I could keep going on for hours and hours and hours, but I don't want to ramble too long in your brain, and I think I got my major point across. Every single fighting game creator at this point is talking about it. I had to get my 2 cents on it. So if you want to hear more of these talks, more of these discussions, let me know in the comment section below, and let me know, were you a fan of 2XKO? Did you play the game? Did you not play the game? Are you excited for Tokon? Do you think that Tokon's gonna die? This, that, and the third. So with that being said, this is Alex Lovehall signing off. Stay tuned, stay blessed, stay safe, and remember, 1% today equals 100% tomorrow.